6 hours before my mother's heart stopped. I was on my knees begging the man I had loved for 7 years to save her life. And he said just one sentence: "Her problem has nothing to do with me." He refused to give $50,000 to save her, but turned around and gifted $3 million to a new streamer. He raised a glass in celebration at my mother's funeral and even accused me of faking her illness for money, ruining my education, career, and reputation, leaving me homeless. They thought that once I was pushed into the mud, I would never get back up. Until I handed the company's hidden accounts to the regulators and tore their carefully orchestrated frame up to pieces in public, letting every camera, every piece of evidence, and the law itself stand on my side. I was kneeling on the floor, my knees raw and aching. Lucas sat on the leather sofa, holding a glass of red wine. That glass was the birthday gift I gave him last year, 1 month of my salary gone in an instant. "Please." My voice trembled. "The hospital said if we don't pay the $50,000 deposit today, they won't operate on my mom." Mom was lying in the ICU. The doctor said her heart was like an old rubber band, ready to snap at any moment. Lucas slowly set the glass down. The clink against the marble table rang sharp and clear. "Evelyn," he said, "your mother's problem has nothing to do with me." I froze. 7 years together. I had seen him gentle, angry, even impatient, but never had I heard him speak like this, as casually as commenting on the weather. We agreed to get married next year." I clutched his pant leg. "Consider this money a loan, or my dowry in advance." The word dowry burned my cheeks as I spoke it. Lucas pulled back, straightened his suit, a suit I had ironed myself, every crease sharp as if cut by a knife. "Stop it," he said, heading for the door. "I'm busy." The door closed. I knelt alone in the living room, staring at the unfinished glass of wine. The red liquid clung to the glass, leaving streaks like blood. That night, I curled up on a plastic chair at the hospital, scrolling through the news to stay awake. Then I saw it. Headline: Billionaire Lucas Grant spends $3 million to support rising streamer Sophia. The photo showed Sophia smiling, her eyes curved in happiness, while gift effects flashed on the bottom corner of the screen. Comments flooded in: "This is true love." I'm crying with envy. $3 million. My mother's life-saving money, just $50,000. I stared at my phone until my eyes ached. A nurse came by, patted my shoulder. She didn't speak, but I understood. At 3:17 a.m., my mother's heartbeat flattened. In the hospital hallway, I deleted every contact of Lucas from my phone. Each deletion confirmed with a tap. 7 years of messages. Over 300 photos together. The "Forever Love You" he sent with the first necklace he gave me. All gone. My mother's funeral was held on a rainy day. Few attended. She had worked as a housekeeper all her life. Her employers thought attending a housekeeper's funeral was inappropriate. Only a few old neighbors and an elderly woman she had cared for came, the latter in a wheelchair. I stood in a black dress at her gravestone. Rain pelted my face. I couldn't tell it from my tears. My phone vibrated. A social media notification. Sophia had posted a photo, she and Lucas smiling and clinking glasses in a fine restaurant. Caption: "Finally. He belongs only to me." The location tagged a luxury hotel less than 3 kilometers from the cemetery. I turned off my phone. The next day, things got worse. The department head called me into his office. He couldn't meet my eyes, only slid a document toward me. "Evelyn, I'm sorry, but Grant Capital has withdrawn your internship recommendation." He cleared his throat. "Mr. Lucas provided some information about the authenticity of your mother's illness." I stared at him. "What do you mean?" "He claimed you fabricated your mother's illness for money." He finally looked up at me. "Now it's spreading in the community. Our school cannot handle the public pressure." I laughed. The sound scared even me. "So," I said, "a man who can casually gift $3 million to a streamer thinks I faked a $50,000 illness to trick him. And you believe him?" The department head said nothing. As I walked out, my phone rang. An unknown number. "Is this MS? Evelyn? This is a law firm. On behalf of your mother's former employers, we accuse your mother of stealing valuables during her employment that afternoon." The news broke. Headline vague: Housekeeper's family faces controversy again. Content vaguer still. Every line a knife. Reports indicate the housekeeper was suspected of stealing her employer's property. Recently, her daughter allegedly had a conflict with a financier over medical expenses. Insiders revealed the family has a history of exploiting sympathy for profit. The top comment, like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. A rat's child digs holes. I was ordered to publicly apologize to Lucas, to the former employers, and to the misled public, or face a defamation lawsuit for an amount I could never earn in a lifetime. I stood before the school bulletin board, staring at the official notice demanding my apology. Students passed by. Some looked down to pretend not to see. Some whispered. Some pulled out their phones to take pictures. I tore down the notice. Slowly, carefully, line by line. The ripping echoed in the hallway. Then I went to the registrar and submitted my withdrawal request. The teacher was shocked. "Evelyn, you're only 6 months from graduation. Quitting now means 7 years of study wasted." "Not wasted," I said. At least it taught me when to turn away. When I left campus, I sent an anonymous tip email. Attached were 3 years of irregular financial data from Lucas's company, files I had accidentally seen while helping him organize documents. He had called it business secrets and told me to keep it strictly confidential. Not anymore. As the send confirmation pinged, I felt an odd calm. That night, I slept in a cheap motel, using my last bit of money to pay for the room. The next day, I went to an unremarkable office building downtown. Real estate data analyst assistant. The interviewer flipped through my resume. "The pay isn't high, and the work is boring. Are you sure you want this?" "I'm sure." The work was undeniably tedious. Staring at the computer screen every day, analyzing land values, predicting market trends. But I liked the monotony. Numbers don't lie. They don't betray you. And they certainly won't say "not my problem" when your mother is dying. By the second week, I came across materials for a new project. The project lead was Alexander Reed. The files described him as an industry legend, but extremely low profile, rarely ever appearing in public. While organizing the data, I noticed an anomaly. The core plot in the project was severely undervalued, while an adjacent waste treatment site was priced absurdly high. I flagged it, attached my analysis, and submitted it to my supervisor. The next day, my supervisor called me into his office, face grim. "You touched Mr. Reed's direct files?" I nodded. "He wants you to come to his office." The supervisor lowered his voice. "Good luck, kid." Before heading to Alexander Reed's office, I stopped by the bank. The ATM screen flashed, "Your account has been frozen." I tried transferring money on my phone, same message. At the counter, the teller checked for a long time, then called the manager. "Ms. Evelyn, we've received a temporary court freeze order," the manager said cautiously. "It's part of an investigation into a corporate data breach case." I understood immediately. Outside the bank, my phone rang. Company HR. "Evelyn, I'm sorry, but the company has received accusations that you leaked confidential business data. During the investigation, you will need to suspend work." A light rain began to fall. I stood on the curb, watching cars pass by. Back home, my small house I had lived in with Mom for 20 years, a court auction notice had already been posted on the door. The house was being forcibly sold for unpaid medical debt. 3 days later, I stood on the street clutching a cardboard box. Inside were all of Mom's belongings, a photo album, a faded scarf, and her old reading glasses she wore every day. The rain poured harder. I wandered aimlessly, not knowing where to go. The money in my pocket could barely buy a loaf of bread, and the cheapest motel room cost $50 a night. Through the window of a luxury boutique, I saw Sophia trying on a diamond necklace. Lucas stood beside her, swiping his card with a smile. I turned away. I didn't want to look, but Sophia saw me. She stepped out with Lucas, the sound of her heels clicking against the pavement like a countdown. "Oh, isn't this Evelyn?" she cooed, sickeningly sweet. "What? Out here wandering with all your belongings?" Lucas frowned. "Sophia, don't. Am I wrong?" Sophia tilted her head. Poor people should look poor, clearly clueless, yet trying to squeeze into places they don't belong. "Didn't your mother ever teach you manners?" I hugged the box tightly. "Oh, right." Sophia feigned surprise. "I forgot, your mother already." I didn't hear the rest, because the world went black. When I woke, I smelled disinfectant, not the cheap, harsh hospital kind, but faint and clean. The room was large, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city at night. I lay on a soft bed, wearing a fresh hospital gown. "You're awake." The voice came from the doorway. A man entered, tall, dressed simply in a gray shirt and pants, but there was an aura about him that immediately marked him as no ordinary person. "I'm Alexander Reed," he said. "You made annotations on my project files." I tried to sit up but felt dizzy. "Stay lying down." He came to the bedside. "You fainted on the street from low blood sugar and exhaustion. My driver saw you." "Thank you," I whispered. "I'll pay for the medical fees. Your bank account is frozen." He interrupted. "The house has been auctioned. And you lost your job. How do you plan to pay?" I fell silent. Alexander Reed studied me. His eyes were a deep gray, like the sky before a storm. "About those annotations," he said. "Why did you think the land valuation was off?" I froze. Now, he was asking about work, but I answered. I explained my data analysis, market comparisons, and risk assessments in detail. He listened, then nodded. "You're stronger than half the people on my team," he said. "Rest up. We'll talk tomorrow." He walked to the door, then paused, and he didn't look back. "Your ex-boyfriend's company was recently summoned by regulators." Anonymous tip. Solid evidence. The door closed gently. I lay in the darkness, and for the first time, it felt like the rain was finally easing. A month later, I appeared at Reed Group's high-end real estate launch as an ordinary consultant. This was my first assignment, providing data analysis support for the live presentation. I wore the company-issued suit and skirt, standing behind a side table far from the main stage. Almost no one would notice me, until Lucas and Sophia arrived. They entered like celebrities. Sophia in a silver sequin gown, arm-linked with Lucas, smiling at the cameras. Reporters swarmed. Flashes lit the room. "Grant Capital has partnered with MS. Sophia's charitable fund," I heard Lucas say. I kept my head down, continuing to check the data. Halfway through the launch, Sophia suddenly screamed, "My bracelet! My diamond bracelet is gone." The room fell silent. It was a custom piece she had flaunted online, reportedly worth millions. "I just left it on the lounge table," Sophia cried. "It's my grandmother's heirloom." The event staff immediately started searching. 10 minutes later, one of them whispered, "The security footage shows only MS." Evelyn entered the lounge. All eyes turned to me instantly. Lucas frowned. "Evelyn? She's here?" Sophia pointed at me. "Yes, I saw her near the lounge." "I didn't," I said. "I've been at my station the whole time." "Search her bag," someone shouted. "Do you dare let everyone check your bag?" The security guard walked over. I looked at Lucas, hoping, just once, that he would say something, but he turned his gaze away. "Please cooperate with the inspection," the guard said. I handed over my work bag. It was a cheap canvas tote, the corners worn thin. The guard dumped its contents onto the work table: a notebook, pens, a phone charger, half a pack of tissues, and a glittering diamond bracelet. The room erupted. Sophia covered her face and burst into tears. "That's it, Grandma." "I'm so sorry, call the police," someone shouted. A guard grabbed my arm. I struggled, but another joined in. They dragged me toward the exit. My knees slammed into the floor. My skirt tore, blood seeping through the fabric. "Wait." The voice wasn't loud, but the entire venue fell silent instantly. Alexander Reed descended from the second floor. He had changed into a black suit, his steps steady and unhurried. "Mr. Reed." The event manager rushed over. "I'm terribly sorry to disturb you. There's a small situation, I see it." Alexander cut him off. He walked up to me, and the guards released their grip. "Are you all right?" he asked. I shook my head and tried to stand, but my legs gave out. Alexander reached out and steadied me. Then he turned to the crowd, his voice clear and calm. "Before calling the police, let's watch some footage." The big screen lit up. Not the hallway camera outside the lounge, but footage from inside the lounge itself. A hidden camera captured everything clearly. On screen, Sophia entered the room, glanced around, quickly removed the bracelet from her wrist, and slipped it into my canvas bag. The entire took less than 5 seconds. The venue went dead silent. Sophia's face drained of color. I don't know," she stammered. "Maybe someone set me up." "Continue," Alexander said. The next clip played, Sophia's assistant outside the venue. handing an identical bracelet box to a man. That man was Lucas's driver. The real piece is here. Alexander's assistant stepped forward, holding a velvet box. It was just recovered from Grant Capital's vehicle. Miss Sophia, you've been wearing a replica all along. Today's performance was meant to frame someone with the fake. Move the real bracelet, and then file an insurance claim. Correct? Sophia collapsed to the floor. Lucas's face turned ashen. Mr. Reed, this must be a misunderstanding. It's not, Alexander said. He helped me stand upright, then faced the crowd, speaking slowly and distinctly. Allow me to formally introduce her. This is Evelyn Reed, my lawful spouse, and the second largest shareholder of the Reed Group. I heard sharp intakes of breath all around. Lucas looked like he'd been punched in the face. Sophia forgot to cry, her mouth hanging open in disbelief. Alexander slipped an arm around my shoulders. His hand was steady, its warmth seeping through the fabric. 3 weeks ago, Evelyn and I legally registered our marriage, he said. For her personal safety, we chose not to make it public. Today changed my mind. He turned to the security team. Call the police. Charge Miss Sophia with defamation, framing, and fraud. Charge Lucas Grant with aiding and abetting. Then he looked directly at Lucas. Effective immediately. Reed Group is terminating all cooperation with Grant Capital. That includes the 3 ongoing projects and any future opportunities. Lucas's face shifted from green to white. Mr. Reed, you can't. Those projects, we've already invested. That's your problem, Alexander said. Now, please leave my launch event. Security pulled Sophia to her feet. She was still screaming. It's fake. All fake. How could Evelyn possibly marry you? She's just a poor. Shut up. Lucas roared. He gave me one last look. It was complicated, shock, anger, and regret. I didn't want to know. They were taken away. The venue was silent. All eyes on Alexander and me. The launch will continue, Alexander said calmly. My wife needs her wounds treated. He took me to a private lounge upstairs. Once the door closed, my legs gave out and I nearly collapsed. Alexander helped me onto the sofa and crouched to examine my knees. Hospital? He asked. I shook my head. Just scrapes. Then I looked at him. Why? Why help you? He opened the first aid kit. Because you're worth it. No, I said. Why say I'm your wife? We've only met 3 times. Alexander dipped a cotton swab in antiseptic. His movements gentle. The first time, you collapsed in the street. The second, you talked me through 30 minutes of data analysis. Your eyes were lit with purpose. The third is today. He finished dressing the wound and looked up at me. A month ago, I had my team look into everything. Your mother, your ex, every injustice you suffered. I also investigated Lucas Grant's company. The issues you reported anonymously were just the tip of the iceberg. So you want me? I smiled faintly, bitterly, to take down a competitor? Alexander was silent for a few seconds. I'm 43, Evelyn, he said. I was married once. After my wife passed from illness, I thought I'd never want to protect someone again, until I saw you collapsed in the rain, still clutching your mother's belongings. He stood and walked to the window. The marriage agreement is ready. If you're willing, we can be partners in name. You get my resources and protection. I get your intelligence and integrity. If you're not willing, I'll still help you today, then send you away with enough money to start over. I watched his tall figure. Why are you helping me? I asked again. Alexander turned to face me. Because I've seen too many people sell their souls for money. But you're the type who, even when your soul is trampled into the mud, struggles to stay clean. He stepped closer and handed me a document. This is the prenuptial agreement. Your mother's medical debt has been cleared. The house has been redeemed. You can sign now, or walk away. I respect any choice you make. I flipped open the agreement. The terms were clear and fair, even too fair. In the event of a divorce, I'd receive a substantial portion of the assets. If I sign, I asked, what do I have to do? Be yourself, Alexander said. Be a data analyst. Be my partner, or do nothing. Just stand by me when necessary. As I stood by you today, I picked up the pen. When I signed, there was no rush of excitement or joy, only a deep, complete calm. 7 years. Finally, I could breathe. The next day, The news exploded. Cinderella's revenge. The down-and-out student is Reed Group's secret mistress. Sophia frame-up reversed. True socialite is a fraud. Grant Capital faces multiple crises. But the backlash came quickly. Lucas gave an interview. On camera, his eyes were red. Voice hoarse, I dated Evelyn for 7 years. And I truly cared for her. But after her mother passed, she changed. She demanded huge sums of money. When I refused, she threatened to destroy me. I never imagined she would retaliate this way. He showed evidence, a few intimate photos I'd sent him, now only disgusting to me, and edited chat excerpts, where I asked to borrow money, with the context of my mother's critical condition deleted. She married Alexander Reed just for money and revenge. Lucas sobbed. I truly loved her, but now only disappointment remains. Sophia also released a statement from her temporary bail. Evelyn has always been jealous of me. She knew Lucas's heart belonged to me. So she framed me. The footage must be fake. Worse, that evening a secret video surfaced. It showed me dining with Alexander at a restaurant. My head was down. He gently wiped my tears away. It was my mother's anniversary, and I couldn't hold back. But the video had been edited to make it look like I was crying while Alexander comforted me. With subtitles, Evelyn cries to her new sugar daddy about her ruthless ex. Public opinion began to shift. Such a schemer. Exploiting one person after another. Is Mr. Reed being fooled? My phone was flooded with unknown numbers. Social media exploded with abuse. Alexander's PR team scrambled. Do you want to issue a statement? The team leader asked. I shook my head. On the third day, Alexander held a press conference. No reporters, only live cameras. He sat at the podium. I sat beside him. Today, I will clarify 3 things. Alexander said, voice carrying through the mic. First, my marriage to Evelyn is based on mutual respect and admiration, and no one else's business. Second, regarding Miss Sophia's accusations, the police have obtained the full chain of evidence, including records of her purchasing a fake bracelet and phone recordings with the insurance broker. The case will proceed through the judicial system. He paused. Silence filled the room. Third, and most importantly, regarding Evelyn's mother. The big screen lit up. Not edited footage, but full hospital surveillance. Timestamps from 2 months ago showed me kneeling in the hallway, begging the doctors, saying the money would arrive soon. Then Lucas's driver entered the hospital, not to pay, but to relay Mr. Lucas's message. He said not a penny will be given. Don't bother him again. The footage continued. A familiar figure appeared at the payment window, Sophia, wearing sunglasses. She didn't pay, but told the staff, if someone comes to pay for bed 306, say the system is down. A staff member hesitated, but Sophia handed over a thick envelope. The video had audio, faint but clear. A small favor won't go unrewarded. The scene shifted. My mother's attending physician in his office. Facing the camera, we repeatedly urged payment, but the system showed technical error. By the time it was resolved, the patient had missed the optimal surgery window. 6 hours earlier, survival probability was at least 70%. The final clip, the former household's old maid, trembling, Madam, before she passed. She asked me to dispose of some old clothes. I secretly kept a few for myself. When discovered, I lied, saying it was Evelyn's mother who stole. I'm sorry. Alexander turned off the video. Lucas Grant, he said to the camera, each word deliberate. You didn't kill a stranger, you killed a woman who treated you like a future daughter-in-law for 7 years. Sophia, you didn't stop a mere payment, you blocked a living person's life. He stood and took my hand. Now, the law will deal with you. The live feed ended, but it was enough. 3 months later, Sophia's case concluded, fraud, defamation, and obstruction of medical treatment, a newly established charge. Multiple sentences totaling 8 years. She fainted in court, but no one felt sorry for her. Lucas's company collapsed completely. Regulators uncovered more violations, illegal fundraising, financial fraud, insider trading. Investors collectively sued, assets frozen. He moved from mansions to a rental apartment. The media captured him looking 10 years older. He came to see me once, at the front gate of my new home with Alexander, not my mother's old house, but a quiet villa. I had redeemed the old house but donated it to the community, turning it into a free study center. Lucas stood outside, wearing a wrinkled shirt, deep bags under his eyes. Evelyn. His voice hoarse. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes. I stood behind the door, looking at him through the wrought iron gate. Talk about what? I asked. I know I was wrong, he said. I was blinded at the time. Sophia, she said she could help me get a big project. But I never meant to hurt your mother. Really? It was an accident. An accident? I laughed. Refusing $50,000 to save her life was an accident? Giving a streamer $3 million was an accident? Celebrating with Sophia at the funeral was an accident? Spreading rumors to ruin my reputation was an accident? He had no reply. Lucas. I said, do you know what's the most ridiculous thing? If you had lent me that $50,000 that day, even just lent it, even if I had to repay 10 times later, I would have been grateful forever. I would have worked my ass off to pay you back. And I would have continued to believe you were a good person. I shook my head. But you chose the cruelest way. You made me realize that 7 years of love meant less than Sophia's pout. My mother's life meant less than your $3 million vanity. He reached for the gate, but I stepped back. Go. I said. There's nothing left to say between us. He finally left, his back hunched, looking like an old man. That afternoon, I attended a REIT group board meeting. Alexander proposed appointing me as the director of the newly established Corporate Social Responsibility Department. It passed unanimously. After the meeting, he asked, does all this feel too fast for you? We stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows in the top-floor office, overlooking the city. The sky was clean after the rain, sunlight streaming through the clouds. Too fast? I thought for a moment. The night my mother died, time moved so slowly it felt frozen. Every second stretched like a lifetime. I turned to him. But now, I can finally look forward. Alexander held my hand. His hand was big, warm. Together, he said. A year later, I sat at my mother's grave. I brought her favorite lilies, and a copy of my newly won industry award certificate. I burned it for her to see. Mom, I'm doing really well, I whispered. The house has been redeemed and turned into a study center. Many children are reading and learning there. You always said knowledge can change destiny. Remember? The wind blew gently, petals trembling, and I met a good man. He doesn't care that I'm poor, that my past was a mess. He said he liked the light in my eyes. Mom, the light is still there because you taught me, no matter how hard life gets, to live clean. I stood up, brushing grass off my skirt. Many people say I only won because I married Alexander. I said finally. But you know what? I never wanted to win. I just didn't want to keep living on my knees. I didn't win because of money. They had first trampled life into money, and I chose to pick it back up and keep moving forward.